Hey everybody, we're back at it. Tools of the trade, part 4. Today we're going to talk about what's behind me here. My mixer, my V-table, a lot of the tools that I use on a daily basis here. So without any hesitation, let's get going. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is clamps. I have a few, but in fiberglass season, I'm really hard pressed to find any. I use it for clamping all my seams before I do my cutting and my drilling. I do use them when I make pots and bowls and I have an overlapping leaf on the outside of the bowl. I will use little clamps just to hold it in place so they don't shift while you're pouring concrete. So yeah, it looks like I have enough, but trust me, when it's fiberglass time, I can't find one. A little whiteboard tells me what's important to me. Oh, who are those people? Okay, and here we go. Here's my mixer. It's electric. I've had it for 9 years. Bought it at Home Depot. I think at the time it was $350, I think at the time, which is super reasonable. It comes apart, so you can take it on little job sites and do a pour with it. The bottom base comes off and you can wheel it around. Never had an issue with it, never had a problem. Keeps on chugging. The reason I got electric is so I can pour all the time, even if the winter, if I really wanted to. So I don't have to worry about fumes from a gas mixer. But and it just plugs into a regular 110 outlet. Doesn't need 3-phase. It's powerful enough. And like I said, it just keeps chugging and chugging. One thing to remember is always keep your insides clean as you can of your mixer when you're cleaning up. Every now and then hit your hammer on those fins there to knock off any chunks of dry cement. You don't want to get a buildup in there. I mean, this is, like I said, 9 years old and it looks pretty sweet inside. So try and keep your machine nice. Okay, so next is my V-table. And the reason my V-table is there is because this guy swings around. And I've shown this in other videos. It swings around so I can stand at the V-table right here and have my mixer turned to me and have my models all lined, or my molds all lined up on top of the V-table, and away I go. It's just really convenient. Works well for me. The V-table I use is pneumatic. Okay, so that's an air drive. You can see it right down there. There's the motor, that's the muffler. I can't remember the company I bought it from. Actually, I can. It's Vibco, V-I-B-C-O, out of the States. And that's hooked up to my compressor, which runs up that hose, and it goes outside, and insert this clip now. So here it is, out back the studio. It's 24 gallon, 150 max PSI. Runs great. It's a good size because that's what I need for the pneumatic motor there. And then the hose just runs on the ground, comes up through the window and then down to my table. It's just my regular hose that I use for blasting stuff here in the shop. It's controlled by this little lever right here. And when it's hooked up, I just can vary the speed, how much air is coming in, on and off, or half speed or full speed. You get different action with the amount of air coming through. It's something you have to play with if you ever buy one like this too. Noisy like heck. That's why right here is the my ear protection. And I usually always have a dust mask hanging around, right around here, while I'm mixing all the dry ingredients. It's always a good idea. So what we have here is what I use everyday trowels for doing different pieces. If I'm pouring, if I'm doing anything on another table for leaves, anything. I try and keep everything together here so I can always find it in a hurry if I need it. These are mostly all for doing leaves, the little ones. I usually always have backups over there, but I'll show you that when I get there. It's frustrating because sometimes these things just break and you have a favorite. You can tell what my favorites are. That's these two here. I use the others a lot too, but those two especially. And then sometimes it breaks, and if you don't have a backup, you're kind of pooched. So here we have a lot of chisels that I use for different things. You've seen in the video, if you've seen it, the bench making vid. These are the chisels that I use for there. All kinds of things. For rocks I use too. For, you've seen I've done hands in alginate, and then I've mounted them on rocks, so you have to chisel out a spot for them. They come in handy. Some more little trowels. Never use these ones. What those actually are is they're painter ones, and I think this one on the end is actually an offset cooking spatula. The files I use, you'll see on the other table when I get over there for the next video. I use a lot of files just for rasping off the edges, the flashing on seams, bottoms, lots of different places to get into. So this is just a chainsaw file, but the round one comes in handy. You can just rub it across the back of something. These curved over ones here are handy, and then big rough ones, and that's a big rough rasp. It's good for doing bottoms as well too. Chisels I use a lot for plaster work. Also they come in handy, believe it or not, for doing clay. They're good for making a little definition and little marks pieces, but it's a well-used set. Use them all the time. Up top, we've got, you've probably seen in other videos, this is the AR scrim. Buy it on a 100-foot roll at a time. I just keep it up there so it's tucked away in a neat place, and I can just pull down as much as I need and cut it across. Good stuff. I can either purchase that from Buddy Rhodes in the States and Canada, from Trinic carries it in the States and in Canada, and Sculpture Supply Canada also carries AR scrim. I think actually in the States you can buy it at Lowe's. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. And we're almost done this little section. It's not going to be a great big long one today. These are just little pieces when I do pots, etc. Pots and little planters. These are just the little plugs that go in. One end is plugged up, right? So that goes in. That's your drain hole. So when I pour, I put these in right away. Either I hold it on the V table, or I just make a little hole with my finger and slide that back down, and then an hour or so later you can go and pull them back out again. Spray a little release on them. Just a honing stone. The honing stone is for those guys there, because I am kind of rough on the chisels, so it's good to keep a really good edge on them. And last but not least, we've got this little, I've shown it before. It's before I had a V table. This is all I used to have, was banging rubber mallets and this sucker here. It's an old-fashioned massager. I think they're still available. You can even find them online. I don't even know if you can see that name on there or not. But I have seen them online. I think you can get them actually on Amazon. They're not cheap. I think when I seen it, they're a couple $100 or $300 for one of those guys. But they were great for holding on the top of the mold after you pour and getting a good vibration. It has a pretty good shake to it. If you don't have something like that, you can use, some people have used just an electric sander, of course with no sandpaper in it, and just hold that on the side of a mold, and it does vibrate a little bit. But banging and tapping works just darn good too after a while, if you learn how to burp your mold pretty good. So this wasn't a very big one today, just one of your smaller tools of the trade. And we'll probably put another one out in a week or so. Any questions, feel free to ask, folks.